Welcome back to one more episode of Lightworkers Connect today, everybody. My name is Emily Harrison. I am the founder and director here at the Akashic Academy, and I just underwent a crazy interview where I don't know what happened. It's like you're in the car and you're driving and you're listening to the radio, and then another radio station comes through. Energy in the cosmos is intense right now. Of course, we have Mercury retrograde. We have the magnetic field shifting and changing. Our magnetic fields are shifting and changing. Our DNA is shifting and changing. So I'm glad that we're at least here doing it together, even if we've not figured out exactly all the things that are going on yet. We have another person here to help us, though. I am very excited to introduce you guys to my new friend, Calvin Witcher, who is a master prophet and has really, really powerful insights on his take of what's happening on the planet right now, and what we can do to really release fear, to harness this energy, and to go through this process of opening and expanding and evolving in a way that's a little easier, it's a little more graceful, it's a little more seamless than if we're doing it on our own. So if you are experiencing an upgrade in your own consciousness, if you are experiencing a shaking up of issues that you've thought that you've already dealt with, if you've got fear coming to the surface in your life and you're just really ready to let it go, I'm happy that you're here today because we are in really excellent hands with my friend Calvin. Calvin, welcome to the show. Tell everybody about what you do, and while you're sharing with us, we're going to share too. We're going to share this out because there are people in our lives who need to hear this message as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me here, Emily. You are a gem and a light to all of us. So thank you. I appreciate so much being here. Thank you for your community for supporting the live stream right now. I so appreciate that. And if my people are watching, which they should be, you know how we always say it, sharing is caring. So be sure to share this to your community, your friends, your family, and we will have a good time here. So yeah, I do a lot of different things, right? I tend to say I'm a multi-passionate person. So very multi-passionate, but the theme is always around the prophetic, the intuitive, really that spiritual nature of who we are and how are we guided in every aspect of our life through God or universe or spirit, however way you classify that. And to me, I say it's all one and the same thing. I actually had a friend yesterday. We were talking, and she said that God is one and one is God. You know, so I love that scenario. So however way you view God or the universe, I'll typically say God or spirit, but to me, it's all the same thing. And yeah, so everything I do is in the prophetic nature of things, which I know sometimes is a very new term for many people.
I like that term. You hear a lot of people calling themselves light workers. Prophet takes me back to, like, I feel like I'm in a biblical time and I need to like pay attention and listen. It's got a very good connotation to it, and not everybody uses it. So I love it.
Yeah, it's a fun topic. My background is in the Judeo-Christian side of things. Hey, Teresa made it. Hey, so nice to have you here. My background is in the Judeo-Christian side of things, although I don't go by that right now as far as ideology. I do say it's my native tongue, so that's just how Spirit has always spoke to me. It's a mantra that I've just carried with me over the years, even in a lot of what I do right now, which is very eclectic. I'm sure we'll get into that as we move forward. But yeah, it's a new term, so if you're not from a more religious background, whether it's Islam or Judeo-Christian background, it can be a little interesting because most people just don't hear those terms. So I find myself having to explain it a little bit more in certain communities, but all in all, it's fun. I love it. And I'm sure people want to know, like, what the heck is a prophet? So
yeah, we want to know, what the heck is a prophet, Calvin?
All right. So here's how I like to look at things. Prophets and then prophecy is kind of the same thing. Prophecy is typically, or I like to say it like this. Prophecy is God reminiscing about us. It's Spirit being in the future, God being in the future, and they're kind of looking back and saying, well, damn, that was really good. You know, they had a good life. I know how their life is going to pan out, and it's great. And so it's kind of this energy of God looking back in our life and us looking at God like a mirror to see our life from a whole panoramic viewpoint. So sometimes it's the past, sometimes it's the present, sometimes it's the future. So I've often said that prophets are just that spokesperson. If I were to break it down, prophet actually comes from two words, pro and then fanai, which mean pro means for or before, and then the second part, fanai, actually just means to speak, to proclaim, to say something. So putting it together simply, a prophet is just somebody that speaks something out or speaks something before it occurs. Sometimes it's predictive. It's about the future. A lot of times it's about the present state, but it's always about your destiny, which is why I would often say it's a little bit distinct from like the psychic, although I do operate in that psychic mediumship side of things. So I help people to understand it like, okay, when I say prophetic, it's typically spiritually driven. When I say psychic, it's typically soul driven. So the psychic side of things is all about you, all about your present state, and according to that present energy, where are you going? The prophetic looks at it more from a panoramic viewpoint and takes everything into account, your past, your present, and your future. And ultimately, how do we put you where you need to be on destiny's track? So that's a little bit of the distinction, how I say it. But I would say all in all, a lot of the energy is simply about making people their best self possible. We'll utilize whatever tool we need to make that happen. So, yeah.
I love that.
Hey, Denise. Mwah.
Yeah, this is such a cool comment from Denise coming in. I just want to stop and address this for a second. She says, okay, my 3-year-old just came. I don't know if she talks with that accent, but I usually go back to my Missouri accent when I'm playing characters like that.
That's okay. I love it.
So she said my 3-year-old just came in and told me there's another Calvin on your laptop. How did he know who you are?
You know what? It's so funny. Denise, probably mostly because Denise is in my tribe, so she's probably talking about me all the time. And 3-year-old probably has a lot of that prophetic energy starting to pull in and pull through. But it's funny because Denise, this will probably be a memory or reminder for you. I talked about anyway that you have that ancestral energy coming through your bloodline. So probably it's kicking in with his psychic and intuitive abilities. And now he's started to pick up on it. And he's probably a little more comfortable to be able to do that with you as well. So you know what? I would not be surprised. We're also in retrograde, as Emily said. And it's Aries, and I'm an Aries. So it's probably a lot of energy, a lot of energy anyway going around. So it's fun. Yeah.
I love that. And kids are very still open and connected with those psychic abilities and energies. I notice that when I'm walking through a public space and there's a little one, sometimes they'll lock eyes with me and just go so deep. And I'll just go deep with them and give them like a little psychic wink, wink, like, yeah, I know we know each other before. So I really love having those experiences. Denise, that was really special. So thank you for allowing us all to be part of that little personal moment there of your family. And
I love it.
I love holding space for our children as they are learning differently with their skills and abilities, with their skill set, because they're coming in for parents who are more open to these things and more knowledgeable about these things. So as the parent of that generation, I'm excited to learn more and to continue to expand my knowledge, because I have 3 kids as well that I would like to support in moving through what it is that we're moving through. So Calvin, we talked about doing a little process maybe to release fears that are coming up, because I know the energy is getting really stirred up in a lot of people right now. I'm excited to do that. Will you just give us a really brief breakdown before we move into that process of what did your personal story look like when you decided to do this as a career? Because that's, I think, what so many of us are working with is we have been trained and in like more traditional kind of careers. Yes. How does one move from the more traditional aspect of society to using these gifts and skills and abilities? Like, what did that look like for you?
Well, that's a great question, because one of the things that I have, I came to learn, I came to understand, and I came to really accept was I've always been this way. I'm a naturally born prophet, as I would often say that. I just came out of the womb like this. And so a lot of my abilities, my insights were just there. There was no training involved. Although I had some mentors in the prophetic and in the intuitive that helped me to grasp the understanding of what was happening. The gift was always there. So even when I was in a corporate environment, and I have a pretty good business background, I've run multi-million-dollar companies. I've worked with IPOs and investors and taking companies public. I have had my own restaurant as well. I've had several businesses over that time. I've done consulting with state organizations and nonprofits, kind of been there and done that. And me, I, like many other people in this spiritual space, oftentimes we're getting our information from people that are well intended but don't know the nuances of who we are spiritually and what we're meant to do and bring to the table. So oftentimes we get information that just isn't congruent with us. So I say this a lot of times in the consulting and coaching industry where you're taught to do these mechanisms and you need the lead pages and you need the opt-ins and you need all the strategy. And a lot of times it just doesn't feel authentic. So I went through that process very well, or a lot, all to come back to the reality that whether I'm doing business or parenting or I'm teaching or I'm just being me in the grocery store, I'm still always profit. I may not be going by the title. I may not saying thus saith spirit, or God's got a word for you. I'm not always saying that, but the energy is always there. I just may not be talking about it. And so what I found was most of this was about me accepting and honoring and really leading the conversation with that first, and then letting everything follow and flow from that space. And again, it took some transitions and some changes. So, and I would say that maybe was a lot of the uncomfortable energy that I know a lot of people deal with, because I did the business consulting thing and did it very well. I did the life coaching thing and love it. I did the counseling thing. And I had to switch that because what happened a lot with me was that I was working in those industries and I would be given a business strategy and I would say, oh, this is really good for business, but I'm getting all these other things that are incongruent with the business strategy side of things. And I have to deal with that because the spiritual side takes priority. And so since I didn't, it used to be years ago, I wasn't leading with that conversation. It was a little weird. And even though people knew I was spiritually driven, they didn't have that expectation set at the beginning. So now it's completely different. I just lead with that conversation and say, listen, if you're working with me on any level, you're getting the profit, period. You're getting the psychic, you're getting the medium, and that's always my conversation. So I can give you business strategy, and I may on the other end say, but we shouldn't do that with you because of A, B, and C. Or I see something with your business happening literally 3 to 4 months from now. Let's build a strategy according to that, and then put the business side of things in congruence with it. So it's definitely a different working, to say the least. Now, but I found that it's a lot more authentic and true to me. Yeah. Two, I'm not really hiding behind anything else. I'm not necessarily worried that I match the status quo when it comes to a lot of the industries, although I do coaching. I just don't call myself a coach. I do a lot of the mentorship and the counseling. I just don't go by that. So it's a great thing when you can finally step into who you are and just have people honor and celebrate that and then go along the journey with you. So that's...
Honestly, my friend, that is probably the most simple yet profound piece of advice that we can all follow. If you are somebody who feels that transition bubbling up for you, maybe you're in the process of making it, maybe it's coming for you in the next amount of time. There is transition time. It's not a switch. But you know what you reminded me of? You took me back to the moment when I made the transition. Right. And when people used to ask me, like I would be out and people would be like, oh, what do you do? And for those of you guys who are just getting familiar with me, I just recently left the Los Angeles, California area where I was for 20 years pursuing acting. And so people would say, what do you do? And I'd be like, oh, I'm an actress, which honestly, in that area, people are like, oh, because they're a dime a dozen. Yeah, if I was back in Missouri visiting and someone said, hey, what do you do? And I'm an actress, they're like, oh, they're all into it. But in California, it doesn't mean anything. People are like, oh, yeah, whatever. Once an actor, always a waiter, they would say. I remember when the switch happened, and not that I necessarily consider myself a psychic. It's more, like you said, there's more and a little bit different energy to what I do, but I do work in the psychic realms. But somebody asked me what I did, and I was like, screw it. I'm not going to say I said, I'm a psychic. And they were like, boom. Tell me more about that. And they were so interested. And I realized, oh my gosh, that actually felt a lot better to say than I'm an actress. And I remember making that shift in leading with what it is that I do and what I'm interested in. So that was really profound advice. Thank you for sharing that with us, guys. Take that advice, put that in your pocket. Don't let it fall out of your pocket. And now let's go through a process that we can do to release even more fear, because really fear is what stands in our way of moving forward in the areas in our life where we're being called to move forward. So let's untangle some of that. I'm always ready to get some of that out.
I love it. And a lot of my processes tend to be, they are a practice driven, but it's more of a perception driven energy, especially with the prophetic. And so I will say this will be super quick, how we do it. With the prophetic, the interesting thing about it, I don't think everyone is a prophet. I don't think everyone is a psychic, although I think that we all have access to the intuitive genes and energies that, are available, right? If people just simply allow themselves to flow into that energy. One of the things I have found that is the biggest challenge to whatever you want to call it, the prophetic, the psychic, the intuitive energies, is simply resistance and or analysis every time. And so one of the things that's very, very interesting, if we broke it down even to like a mental framework, is that anything that you think of, you have the ability to obtain. If you don't have the ability to obtain it, your mind doesn't really process it as an option. So it doesn't even come up in your awareness. So a good example, and I'm going to talk through it, and then I'm going to have people do something with me. So one of the things that's really interesting.
I just want to say, I already felt the shift, though. That perception shift that you talked about.
Right.
Yes, I feel you, my friend. Did you guys feel the shift? Okay.
And so I want everyone, as you're in this process, listening to me, thinking about it right now, and I want you to think about the phrase I just said, that unless it's an option for you, your mind does not bring it up in your awareness. It simply holds it as not true for you. Great example. And I want everyone, as you were going through this, to type in the comment yes or no, depending on what the question is, right? Have you ever thought of yourself as being a pirate?
I have thought of a pirate before. I'm going to do thumbs up or thumbs down for yes or no.
So thumbs up, thumbs down for that, right? So many of you probably have not.
Probably not.
Right? Many people probably have not. So then I go back and say, well, if you haven't thought about being a pirate, I know it sounds really weird. People are like, what the frick is he talking about being a pirate? Trust me, work with me here. You haven't thought about being a pirate because you haven't created a system around moving towards being a pirate. Most of us think that pirates don't even exist anymore. So then your mind says it's not true. It's not a belief system. Therefore, it doesn't create a path to get to that process. Now, the other thing is also very true. If, like Emily, you thought about being a pirate, then I would go more symbolic. What does pirate mean? Pirate is probably someone that doesn't mind forging in rocky waters, doesn't mind being a little bit of rebellious energy. It's probably not like everyone else, right? I would say that probably describes Emily very, very well in a lot of different cases. She's not like everyone else. Or maybe. So in that case, if you said no, you don't have to worry about it. You're probably not going to be a pirate. If you said yes, you're probably already possessing those energies of that pirate self. Let me give you another example. I want you to think about 5 years from now, how much money you would be making or you want to make. Really simple. Just close your eyes. 5 years from now, where are you? How much money are you making? Breathe it in and breathe it out. Now, hopefully, most of you thought of a number. Some of you didn't think about a number, and you're probably not processing a number right now. You're processing a lifestyle. You're in Cancun. You have a boat. You have a jet. You have a wonderful family. All is well. That's the picture in your mind right now. Now, the interesting thing is, whatever you just pictured is the possibility. The prophetic comes in and says, listen, God has these plans for you. You have these ideas for yourself. Everything that you're doing right now and moving forward is simply to get to that thing that already exists. There's somebody right here that probably didn't think about being an investor. Someone probably didn't think about being a banker. Someone else probably didn't think about being a sailor or a captain or piloting a ship. But you probably did see yourself on a stage of 2,000 people or in a stadium with 60,000 people. You probably saw yourself in this healthy state where you were able to fund certain nonprofits or going to Africa to be able to pay for school. Whatever the mindset is, whatever the image is, that's exactly where you're heading to. No, the challenge is someone like me comes in and says, you're meant to go to Africa. Great example. You're meant to go to Africa and you're meant to help orphans there and you're meant to build a school. But you have a lot of your current understanding, your current environment saying, well, how in the heck are you going to do that? So that intuitive energy, I say, is already in you. Part of what I do, and I think everyone really can do this part, is just allowing yourself to not resist to that and just flow into it. So I said this on my Facebook page, I think a couple of days ago, that when you really release the doubt, you can actually give opportunity for the option or the answers to come to you a lot quicker. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I don't think a lot of teachers or gurus are really better than anyone else. I think they're just people that learn how to resist less in their life. And through that level of least resistance, they have more revelation and ultimately more momentum towards the things that they want. And so I say that that's a really good practice for everyone to imagine. And it really is beyond visualization. I say it more like it's visualization, but it's more of the options that are already there present with you. And it's God's little glimmer of hope that you can go towards. Sometimes when we say visualization, sometimes we translate it as a hope, a wish, a dream, something that is a option, but not necessarily obtainable. So with me on the prophetic, it's never necessarily an option, but it's always something that one can obtain, but it's simply a will to go towards that area. So I think it's I'll say this, put it to the test, even in your own life, over the next week. Have that level of visualization, have the level of intellect, have that level of affirmation to say, it is so, amen, ashe, whatever you say as far as the confirmation goes. Blessed be, it all works. And then allow yourself to even talk to yourself, what is the next step to get what I see? What is the next step to get what I see? Honestly, if I had to break the prophetic down in a strategic step-by-step process, that's really all I'm doing every day is I'm seeing it, but for somebody else. And then I'm saying, what's the next step? Mm-hmm. What's the next step? And then Spirit says, okay, do this. And I do that. And then Spirit says, do this. Literally, that's most of the journey. And I've just found that most people doubt that process. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. And I'll say it's probably fun for me because I'm not in your life. So I have the benefit of not being emotionally attached to it.
Right.
And I'll say it's also fun because the prophetic, I say, it very much is about resolving the past. So a lot of times when I'm talking to people, it's not always about their future. Sometimes it's bridged. So I'll say, listen, you see yourself in front of 60,000 people in a stadium teaching your message. And the problem is you won't allow yourself to go there because your mom never affirmed you. And when you were 6 and 7 and 8 years old, you used to always go to your mom after school to show homework, but she was never paying attention to you because she was always talking to her boyfriend, whoever the flavor of the month was. And so it ends up having this interesting conversation back and forth that I say, listen, I didn't know that per se, but Spirit knew that. And me just bringing it up is not judgment, it's not condemnation. It's simply saying that's the one thing you need to release so you can move forward in the thing that is that you actually want. So again, releasing that resistance is the biggest thing that I found ourselves, needing to do, and allowing yourself to be free in that process. It's fun when you can do it. And when you do it one time, you learn to do it again and then again.
Yes.
And I say that for anyone watching. I don't see the comments, but
you know what, guys? I don't see the comments anymore either. I just wanted to share that something through, and no comments are coming through anymore. So I'm sorry that we're not putting those up on the screen.
Yeah, and I will say too, for everyone, you're probably throwing tons of comments in there. This happened to me actually yesterday too with Be Live, where we were going and the energy got really strong, and all the comments just shut down. Well, what we saw, they were still going, but we just didn't see it. So I will say, blame the retrograde.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
that's really,
but yeah, I'll pull it up to see if maybe we do have comments on there. That way it'll be a little bit. Oh yeah, so they are commenting. There you go.
You can see it on
I can see it on the Facebook feed. So absolutely.
Our behind the scenes footage.
Love it. So yeah,
I
it's very good. So yeah, go ahead. You had a question.
Yeah, you go.
So, so I love that. So Jeremy is saying, I'm looking at the Facebook feed now. So Jeremy is saying $1 million. So I love that. So then I'll pose another question to Jeremy of once you have that $1 million, what does that come out to produce? What are you doing with the $1 million process? Let's see. Mike said, I like to have blank amount of money disappear and not be used as debt slavery system anymore. Absolutely. And I'll say, and then that's an option as well. So here's the interesting thing about that. The degree by which your dream exists is also the degree by which I'll say it this way because someone just said debt. The debt or the cost or the investment also looks. So here's the funny thing about this. Usually, I'll put it in a mental health standpoint. Depression, when it comes to spiritual workers, intuitives, however, is typically not a chemical imbalance. Most of the time, it's actually a issue with vision. It's an issue that you see exactly where you want to be, but you're depressed because you don't necessarily know how to obtain it. So what happens is most intuitives, most spiritual people, uh, we are just inbred, or we're just somehow built that most of what we do is really not for us, it's for other people. So what happens is, I'm going to use, I think it was Mike that said a statement. If he's imagining $1 million, he's not imagining $1 million so he can go buy wine and Oreo cookies and chill out on the beach. He's imagining $1 million so he can end up building a school for less fortunate people. He's imagining $1 million so he can help the homeless. It's something of that nature. So then what happens is he doesn't know how to get there. So then depression kicks in and says, if I don't reach my goal, 10,000 people will not be helped. 1 million people won't be helped. 250,000 people won't be helped. And so he lives with the weight of not necessarily walking in his destiny. That's
Wow.
how depression is for people that are in our space. Now, the challenge is if you don't have someone like me that comes and says, you're not depressed, you're just not in the path of your destiny like you want to be. That's it. All I do is just shift you 2 feet over and say, this is the path. I would say you're always in some place of destiny, but not always in the place that's aligned and attuned with you at that particular point. I think dealing with grief is a destiny point. I think we need to deal with trauma in our life. And I think at that point, healing becomes the destiny. But once you're healed, then we move on to the next phase of life. And that's all it is. I talk about transitions probably 99% of what I do, because that's all I see how spirit speaks to me. Like there's no beginning and the end. There's just this interesting journey that we go on, that we're transitioning from one thing to the other. So I say that for everybody. I'm looking at the comments right now because the energy is moving up. That Teresa says that makes sense. Kelly Jean says boom. Kelly Jean, interesting enough too. I'm sorry, because I will just go and flow, guys. So you guys
now you're like,
comment.
okay, I'm getting messages for you guys. Here it comes.
I'll just keep working and going. Kelly Jean too. See, also, I'll say right now with what I'm picking up with Kelly Jean is that there's some healing and restoration coming even to your family side of things, specifically immediate family. So I would say, even as I don't know what you're dreaming, I'm not sure exactly where the comments. I don't see all the comments. I see like 3 comments. So anyway, she may be commenting. I don't know. But with Kelly Jean, I would say part of your process is going to be very much a healing energy, specifically starting with your immediate family. I feel a couple of things regarding physical health. So I'm just going to say with you over the next couple of weeks, that's going to start resolving itself as well. I'm going to shut up because I'll keep on going. So back to you, Emily.
When you started doing that, then there started coming stuff coming in for me too, and I'm like, oh no, this could just go. Like, this is what happens when people get in their space and they start moving in this energy. It could just keep going and keep going and keep going. So I'll just throw in what was coming up for me, and then we'll try to get back on track. Kelly Jean, there's like a young boy energy coming through too that has some kind of a connection with the immediate family for me that was coming in, that Calvin was mentioning. So just wanted to share. You have either the young boy is in physical form, and then I'm also seeing ancestors coming in to really support this time during transition for you guys. So the boy's either in physical or in spirit somewhere, but coming in definitely presence and support for you guys. So Calvin, this is fun.
Yeah.
We could just like take off and go. But I know I have other things going today, and I know that you do too. You're so busy because you are a coach and you help us.
Yes.
I love what you talked about when you said, I just move you like 2 feet over, because we do have free will. We have the highest good scenarios that are there available for us. That's what I call our Akashic Records. They hold all of the different future possibilities. Some of them are aligned to our highest good. Some of them are skewed over in this area. We're still learning and growing no matter which of those timelines we're on. But it can be really helpful to find somebody who's not emotionally attached to your journey and can help move you over the 2 feet that you need to be so that you are in alignment. So if that resonates with you and you want to reach out with Calvin and you want to figure out what he's got going on, Calvin, where can they come find you and connect with you?
Absolutely. I'll say the quickest way to, especially because I do readings and I do coaching on that side of things. If you're interested in that, honestly, fastest way, private message me. I am always a messenger working with my clients, so that's the fastest way. Otherwise, they can go to my website, which is super easy. It's calvinwitcher.com. And I'm not sure if Denise is still on, but if Denise is on, if you just pop that in there, that'd be wonderful. Thanks, love. And yeah, just calvinwitcher.com, and you can see all that information. But yeah, if you're interested, let me know on that process. Fastest way to contact me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It has been, since I met you, since Paul introduced Coach Nick and Coach Nick introduced me to you, I've just felt such a strong connection and camaraderie with you, my brother. I have really enjoyed getting to know you again in this life. It has been very fun. I appreciate you being my guest here on the show today and sharing not only your knowledge, but diving in and giving some people some messages that were coming in that space. It's very generous of you. And it just speaks to the soul that you are. You're a gift here to the planet and a gift to me and a gift to my audience. So thank you for being here with us. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend. I'd love to have you back again. You guys enjoy the rest of your day too. We'll see you back here again on Lightworkers Connect. And of course, more coming today at the Akashic Academy. We have lots more. We have Robin McClendon, Conversations with Gaia, and also Jack, Life Hacking later on tonight. So make sure that you hang out with us all day. Namaste, everybody, and we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye-bye.